If Kevin McAllister and John Rambo had a kid, this would be her story. I hope you got a strong stomach. Becky comes to us from the directorial team that brought us 2015's Cooties. And if you've seen that movie, then you know these directors are not afraid of gore. We follow Lulu Wilson's Becky, a troubled 13-year-old girl who about a year ago lost her mother to an unnamed disease. Understandably so, Becky has had a hard time coping with the loss of her mother, and even more so with the fact that her father, played by Joel McHale, is starting to move on. Becky's dad has planned a weekend getaway to their house in the woods, and that's always a good sign. Unbeknownst to her, he also invited his girlfriend and her son, and on this trip is when they decide to tell her that they will soon be getting married. Distraught by this news and just everything else going on in life, Becky runs off to her fort in the woods. While all this is going on, there's also a prison break of 4 convicts headed up by Kevin James. And we know James plays a really bad guy in this movie because he's got a big ass swastika tattooed on the back of his fucking head. While Becky's hiding out in the woods, James and his crew come to the house and take her dad, his girlfriend, and her son hostage. You see, James apparently stashed something there before he went to prison. Never really says how he got it there or how long it's been there, but we do know that he did stash it there and now he's there to get it. And lo and behold, it's not where he left it. And that would be because Becky at some point in time found it and put it in her fort in the woods. Being upset about the fact that the thing they came for isn't there, they start to question their hostages. And during all this, they learn that there's another person there that's not present. Some really bad stuff happens, and Becky ain't happy about it. See, when I mentioned that Becky was troubled because of all the stuff that's going on in her life, apparently she's got all that aggression and anger and everything that she's been going through pent up, just boxed up inside, ready to explode. And these guys give her an outlet for all that rage. And oh man, does she fucking rage. What follows is a graphically bloody, intense, no-holds-barred revenge story. And I couldn't get enough of it. This movie was fucking awesome. The story is fairly simple. Bad guys come in, do bad shit, and good guy takes revenge for those injustices. Nothing too complicated. It's a revenge tale, and we can all get behind those kinds of stories. When you have characters that are getting shit on left and right, and bad things are happening to them, when they finally get their moment, when they get to enact that revenge, it's just a glorious moment. And Becky absolutely delivers that on every level. Even though she is only a 13-year-old girl, the vindictive violence that she takes out on these guys is sometimes jaw-dropping. Not that they don't deserve it, they absolutely do. But it's not what we're really expecting. We don't get that from kids in movies a lot. This movie gives us what we want the character to do, but not what we expect the character to do based on movies that we've seen in the past. This movie has the balls to stick to what it sets out to do. It never holds back, even though it is a child carrying out these extremely brutal, visceral acts. The people that they are being carried out on totally deserve it. I like the fact that the movie didn't shy away from showing her doing these things in brutal detail. A lot of movies will cut away from these type of violent acts when it involves children, but not this movie. They give no fucks. And really, because of that, it is very satisfying. These guys are not good people. They are very bad, and they've done some very bad things. They've wronged this girl. Regardless of her age, they have wronged her, and she is owed this revenge. Lulu Wilson does a great job as Becky, and is totally believable as this young child with this rage that's right under the surface, just boiling and ready to explode at any moment. You totally get why she feels this way. You understand what she's going through. While yes, some of her feelings are a bit unfounded, they are human feelings. And when they finally do unleash this character, she kicks all the right kinds of ass. Joel McHale and Kevin James play very much against typecast here, and both of them do a really good job, especially James. His despicable neo-Nazi villain is cool, calculated, and manipulative. And the few times that he actually does lose his cool, it's very believable and terrifying. You don't like his character at all. However, he's not just bad for bad's sake. He does actually have layers, and he is an interesting villain. And even though you do hate the character, you do have to marvel at the way that he manipulates his cohorts in doing his bidding. Joel McHale does a really solid job as Becky's dad as well. And he, like James, is very convincing in this serious role. I really like it when comedic actors go totally against typecast and take roles in more serious movies, especially when it works out well like it did here. Overall, the movie just has really solid, believable performances all around. So this is a graphically violent, gory revenge flick, so one's gotta ask, how are the effects? Because while effects don't make a movie, when it comes to this type of movie that is going to focus on that violence and brutality, if the effects aren't up to snuff, then the movie's going to suffer for it. But you have no worries there, because Becky has some fucking fantastic practical effects. As far as I can see, all the effects were practical. If there's any CGI, it's extremely subtle. And these are some fantastically gory effects. There are some over-the-top moments in this movie, but they're never too far out of the realm of believability. But that doesn't change the fact that there are quite a few times that your jaw will hit the floor by just how gruesomely gory this movie is. And it's not even just the blood and guts and violence that they show on screen. It's the absolute brutality of some of these acts. I mean, there are moments in this movie that are fucking brutal as hell and will leave you just kind of with your mouth agape saying, oh my god. But to go along with those moments, there's also a shit ton of those hell yeah moments as well. These moments and the story as a whole is very satisfying. Everything does not work out for everybody in this movie, but the places the story does go left a huge smile on my face. There are a few things in the movie that I did wish we had a little bit more explanation to. Like the thing that the bad guys are searching for, we never really get much of an explanation as to what that is. At the end of the day, while yes, I'm curious, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect the story in any kind of way. And even in the end of the movie, they kinda sorta in a way leave it open to another one, and I really don't know if that would be a good idea. This seems like the kind of story that's been told, and I'm happy with where it went. Guys, I really liked Becky. It had some really solid performances with some great turns from some traditionally comedic actors. A story that you can get behind and wholeheartedly root for the good guy and relish in those hell yeah moments. Some extremely satisfying, brutally violent, gory kills, and an overall tight, satisfying narrative that makes this movie a unicorn. This movie is so satisfying in the way that it deals with its characters. But if you got a weak stomach, beware, because there are some truly vomit-inducing moments in this movie. I mean, it's pretty brutal. There are some parts in this movie that will make you go, hell yeah, that's awesome. Ooh. Oh my god. But if you're cool with that, you're gonna have a bloody good fucking time. So there it is, guys, my review of Becky. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Huntsville.
Once was a little girl.
Becky!
And she was good.
Stop running!
She was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrid.
Like I said, this movie is full of great hell yeah moments, but the one that topped them all is when a character rides out of a barn on a four-wheeler with a lawnmower attached to the back of it. The moments that happen after this are so violently brutal, brilliantly gory, and disgustingly over the top that you can't help but just sit there with your mouth open in awe. Seriously, this movie is fucking gory. Like, probably gorier, maybe not in volume, but in just acts and brutality than the Rambo movie that came out a few years ago. Fucking gore galore, man. That was a lot of blood. It was just brutal, and I loved it!